All right. It's time for blunt conversation. Let's get it. I'm Twilisha.
And I'm RoseMarie. We're both super pumped for this episode. And I know oh my gosh. Listen, so we've touched on lots of different kind of touchy topics over the course of the 2 seasons. You know, we got into colorism. We talked, we've continually talked about racism and sexism.
I need to stop having babies.
Yes.
Stop it.
And I think we're probably going to get more into classism and that after this episode because I feel like this leads into it.
It would lead nicely into it because I think that we'll be able to kind of like broach the topic of classism and how it kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today.
So today, we are going to rip apart you fucking scammers, and I could not be happier.
Because let me tell you, we're from the land of the scammers. I know everyone thinks that ATL is the land of the scammers, but that's just because Albany is so small and nobody knows what's going on up there except for the people who are there.
But people do be knowing that Albany is a scam town. Like, those of you who don't know about Albany, New York, if you ever watch Law & Order SVU, whenever something super, super scammy is going on, they mention Albany in a very scammy way, because they're always like, you know how they do it in Albany. And they fucking do. So.
And also because it's the capital. That's where all the politicians are. So you have to kind of, if you're living in a politician's town, like, politicians are scammers. Like, they're state-sanctioned scammers. So, yeah, Albany is the land of the scammers. Then we moved to ATL. And we have encountered our fair share of scammers since we've been down here.
But thank goodness the Albany trained us pretty well to, like, spot them. Because, like, I feel like Albany prepared us for a good amount of the scammers down here.
I feel like life prepared Rose and I for... Because, like, both of us are like, who's that, what's that? Like, I don't trust it. I don't know you. It sounds like a scam. The story's not adding up. Like, we're very quick to be like, that story's not adding up.
So, specifically, when we say scammers, we're talking about MLMs. We're talking Herbalife. We're talking travel... freaking agent.
We're talking Amway.
Oh,
I know y'all was selling Amway. I remember. Don't try to edit that part of your IG story just like you try to edit your prison stints out. I remember.
And there's always somebody, and there's always some version of this too. So like when we talk about Herbalife and all these other things, like there's always different versions of this. Like Twy and I were talking about if those of you who like to remember, and the internet does keep receipts.
That's my favorite thing about it.
Remember, it was maybe 2 years ago when that $20 pyramid scheme was going around where everyone and their mama was
every couple of years.
They recycle this thing.
You're gonna see your downtrodden, the people who live in the hood, claiming they're gonna become rich instantly if you just give them $20. And then if you think about it, it's like, okay, how does that make sense? Like, where's we're making money. I'm like, you're not making money. You're taking money from people. And then the people who gave you their money, unless they can find somebody to give them their money, you just gonna take their money. It's not a job. It's not a product. It's a scam.
And when that scam was happening, I remember someone hitting me up. Someone with a college degree. Okay, that's where I'll leave it. But someone hit me up to take part in this scam. And I said to her very matter-of-frankly, I said, here's the problem I have with it. Long term, I don't see how everybody in the hood is going to ask everybody for $20 when I live in the hood and I don't have anybody to ask for $100 if I needed it. Right? If I needed it, I don't have anyone to ask $100 for.
These scams, and I forget what they were calling it, the water scam. They weren't calling it the water scam, but they were calling it something. The water game. Whatever they were calling it in the last iteration, it's a Ponzi scheme. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. If you have a situation where in order for you to get in the game, you have to pay into it,
it's automatically a scam.
It's a scam because, like, you don't have to pay somebody to show up at work every day.
Could you imagine going into a job interview and them telling you there's a registration fee just to audition for the job? That's what you're doing.
And that's like, oh, 4 people. And then those 4 people find 4 people. And then everybody's getting, it's a pyramid. Like, here's this person finding 4 people, and then you're underneath them. And then, I don't understand. And I never can understand why people are like, remember that one person? Because, like, when this was going on, somebody hopped on one of my Facebook posts and was trying to, like, oh, well, if you want to get in it with me. And it was like I was like, stop scamming your friends. And then somebody hopped on my post and was like, I want to scam your friends. And I said to them, stop pushing this Ponzi scheme on my page to my friends. And they got mad at me and was like, I just want nobody to fuck with you. And I was like, if it's a bunch of schemers and scammers, I don't want them to fuck with me. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, and where is this person? I bet you they still in the hood. They were shot. Oh yeah, we getting money, and everybody's still in the hood.
No, and now here's the thing, because Twi be tuned out after she be tuned out, but like that person went from we making money to selling plates, and I was like, wow, how much money are you making when you selling plates?
You talking about me getting rich? You talking about we about to get money? And then the next week you selling plates. You talking about you don't fuck with me because I said it's a scam, but now you're selling plates. Probably to make up for the money you lost.
And here's the thing. Like, what bothers me is that they will drag out people who have been successful at this, but realize that the people who are successful at that usually are good salespeople in general. They would be at a car, they could sell cars on a car lot. They're just good salespeople. And the people who are like, I do this in my spare time, a lot of those bitches, they get on my nerves because their husbands have real regular fucking jobs and unions and health insurance. So they do this in their spare time and they try and trick fucking single parents who have fucking 3 and 4 kids who live in the projects that they're gonna be just as successful and have just as much free time, and they're not the same.
The thing that sucks about it is that not only because like we're talking about the MLMs, not only do these MLMs they sell you a false dream of what being a part of the MLM is going to entail for you to even try to attain a moderate success with the business opportunity. But the people who are at the higher levels, like those that will come forward and those that actually leave the lifestyle, a lot of times people who leave the lifestyle, they're very like zip-lipped about it because they're embarrassed.
Yes.
Because they're embarrassed because if you achieve, that means you were scamming people. If you failed, that means you got scammed. So neither one of those things are something that people are going to be itching to just be like, yeah, let me tell you about that time I was scamming all my friends and family. Because that's how these MLMs, they train you to use your network. It's called network marketing. So they train you to use your friends and family as customers and clientele. And then what usually happens is people will join these businesses. And of course your friends and family, they're going to come to attend your party. You know what I mean? Like, and they might even buy a thing or two.
I'm not going to come.
Well,
don't invite me.
Eventually people do stop coming. But usually, like, if this is the first or second time somebody in your friend circle is like, oh, do this thing, I'm gonna have it, because they don't always tell you it's an MLM thing. Sometimes you just I invite you over to a get together. So you're like, oh, whatever. I'm not gonna. If Rose invited me to a get together, I wouldn't be suspicious that she was gonna try to get me to join the
sell
MLM.
her Tupperware.
But I would not have known that in the background, Rose has been getting brainwashed. So now all of a sudden I'm being invited to this get together, and then you get there and it's an MLM party, and like I said, like a lot of people, friends and family, they'll just be like, I mean, whatever. But they might attend, they might even buy a thing or two, but they're not going to become regular customers because nobody does, because a lot of MLM products are shitty. Like, who wants them?
So I got hustled by a friend before we left Albany, or like an ex-friend, whatever. So she hits me up. It was kind of random. We were like, so we were civil, but we weren't really as close as we used to be. She hits me up and tells me she's taking a class and that she needs to get in order to get course credit, her supervisor has to watch her do some kind of financial presentation or whatever. And so I know this is a struggling person who's trying to make it. I'm never like I told you before, I'm always black business and I always try to support. So of course I'm gonna do. Fine.
You're gonna,
if you want,
you're gonna help your friend. Just like if Rose was like, I need you to participate with me. I've used Rose's face for makeup thing. I'm like, hey, I need a body to do makeup on. Like, you don't question your friends when what's being presented to you as something normal.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that she's gonna like give me a presentation and something, or explain, and like then she's gonna get course credit, and like I'm gonna get off the Zoom call because it was during COVID. So like again, it was during COVID, so I'm really not suspicious because I'm thinking that she's got to do this via Zoom because of the way the world is right now for her class. So I'm extra like,
guards are down.
Yeah.
This is just somebody that you know who is reaching out to you to do something to better their lives. That's how it's usually you're perceiving it as a person, because I've been on the end of that too, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll help you with anything, and then you get there and you're like, man,
get on the call, and this bitch is trying to sell me life insurance. And I was, now mind you, I'm smart, and she asked me about, and at this time I worked for the state, and I had a 401k, and I was like, no, I have a financial plan, and it's to get the fuck up out of here. But I basically, I outspoke because immediately she took the girl who was doing the call kind of off the phone with me, and it was the instructor who was trying to sell me insurance. Like, it very quickly went from her doing her routine to her instructor, because I was not budging. And, they got to call in the big dogs, the people who are successful. And so she was trying to talk to me about my financial plan, and I had a financial plan, and I knew what my 401k was, and I knew my stock options, and I knew that I was finna leave. And but I didn't say that, and I said that I talked about being invested in my documentary and making my own revenue, and so I out-talked this bitch is what happened. And when I got off the phone with her instructor wanted my number to get together to work on some projects, and I was like, no, bitch, I know what you saw. You saw that I could have the potential to sell your life insurance, but I don't want to sell life insurance. I know that my friends have their own insurance, and if they have their shit together, they should have some kind of,
because, and this was a thing that was done to me. I was, we're having to get together or whatever. I go, someone's trying to get me, a friend of mine is trying to get me to join Market America, and I'm like, I don't know if you know about it, but Market America is like the Wish version of Amway. Like,
Google, and all you have to do is a couple Googles. It takes 3 or 4 Googles.
It doesn't even take 3. It literally is.
I'm saying for dumb people, because there will be the first, like, the sites that pop up, and you don't click on those. You have to, stupid people, listen to me. Go 2 or 3 down, okay? And then click on that link,
don't
and then
let
follow
the people
that.
you're asking about tell you if they're a scam or not. That is. Don't let the people that you're asking about, if you ask me if I'm a scam, you can't trust my answer. I'm going to say, no, I'm not a scam. And I know that. But why would I say, yes, I'm a scam if I'm a scam? So anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Market America,
they're trying to get me to do Market America. And now I'm Rose. And I'm like, I have questions. Oh, okay, well, how often is this successful? And in your presentation, you said this could be like passive income. Like, what is it? You know what I mean? And I'm like, how many people who join this program stay in the program? And how many people who join this program and stay in the program actually get to the levels that are being discussed in this presentation? Like, I'm going to ask these questions because obviously my friend didn't. She was 10 toes in. She's going to the fucking conferences and whatnot. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, her power is getting cut off. But she wants me to join Market America. Because it's going to make her money.
They prey on desperate people. And that's what's so scary, is that there's so many of these people who are in these precarious financial situations and don't see a way out. And I've been there. I've been that person. And it's extreme. And when somebody comes along and is like, hey, I'm doing this thing and it's worked for me, and that's what they're selling. They're selling hope.
The people that Rose and I used to exercise with, highly educated, college educated, very gainfully employed, 2-income household, married, right? That is from whence their lifestyle came. But they got people, and I know y'all was selling Amway. They got people
who are living in the hood,
but they would bring those people around their life, bring those people around where they live, in the suburbs, and then it's like, oh yeah, I sell Amway. And because people who don't see a way out see that, like, it's not a secret that both of these people got
state jobs.
Like, it's a 6-figure income house. Like, together they're 6 figures. So nobody's paying attention to that part. They're like, oh, okay, it's Amway. And I'm like, ain't nobody buying no house with no fucking Amway. They're not doing it. Selling these drinks and powders and stuff.
No one's going to go, oh, I need a pack of toilet paper. Let me go hit up Twilisha and get her on the line and tell her to send me the catalog. I'm like, no, you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy. Like, here's the thing. You're never going to replace.
I need some pads. Let me get Rose on the horn. Like, nobody's going to do that.
And no one's going to do it forever. They may do it just one time to support you. But as a life, like, that's not how they're going to do. And it's never worked. And that's
what I told my friend. That was because she was like, she was so like, yeah, because people just gotta start. And I was like, I was like, listen, I know you're into this and everything. I was like, but people don't work like that. I was like, people have brand loyalty and people are just creatures of habit. And they're gonna tend to do what they do. And they're going to take the path of least resistance. And I'm sorry, but meeting up with you and having to place an order with you, for you to place an order with another company and then wait for that order to come back to you for your household, for your dish soap and deodorant and stuff like that. I was like, nobody's finna change their life. And this is not the 1860s. We're not, when I could go to the store and be done with it.
I just feel like since they try to have us selling shit in school, I've been against it. Since the magazines, since the expensive popcorn, all that shit, I've been like, you only do it, like I said, it's a one-time thing if you do it.
I've never wanted to do any of that. Like, usually when they would send that shit home, I would just hand it off to my mom. My mom worked at the state. I'd be like, whatever. Because I'm not a salesperson. Like, I have no interest in...
I don't want to do it.
I don't even like talking to people. So, you know I don't want to sell nothing to you. I don't want to convince you of anything. Like, hey, if you don't want it, don't have it. It don't have nothing to do with me. Like... And you can't have that attitude when you're trying to sell people stuff. But these MLMs, like, they get people who are in these desperate situations and people who are in poverty. Like, these people don't even have the money to dedicate to this. And then as people are spending out more money than they're making, the higher-ups are telling them, well, you have to invest in your business. You have to invest in your wealth. You have to invest in yourself. But really, all that's happening is you're giving your money to the top of the pyramid.
And it's the same with the travel things. It's like Twy and I were talking, like, the Herbalife thing vexes me because it really, again, it promotes hope and a change of life. But you're buying the product for yourself, and yes, you will, if you use just that product, you will lose weight.
But that's with any powder. Like, if you just start consuming fucking Soylent Green,
and you just start drinking protein shakes that cost you half the price from the store, you'll lose weight and you'll have nutrition, like, you'll get nutrients. Like, but the thing is that then they get you out there trying to sell that to your friends,
trying to sell overpriced, mediocre products to your friends and family in a convoluted way that's not gonna really be sustainable. Nobody is going to stop going to stores to order things from you. I'm sorry, they're not doing it.
And a lot of these things, like the Herbalife, it's gonna be a fad. You're not gonna stick with it the same way.
I looked up the stats for Herbalife.
I love that shit. I knew she was gonna be ready for this one.
And this is, they have to show you on their website. Like, it's on their website. That's the part that boggles my mind. Basically, there's a page on the website that's like, this is how often people are successful with this type of venture. And they're like, first year statistics, half of their distributors are gonna make something like $260 a month. It might even be a year. But the people who are making that money, they're putting a lot of time into that business to make. You could just go get a job at Family Dollar.
You could Uber. You could deadass
and make $200 extra a month. Like, you ain't got to be scamming your friends to do it. Like, it's just, and then there's like 1% of people who actually make something like $5,000 a month. But you want to know who those people are?
Gross. They're gross people.
They're the people at the top who all these other folios making $200 is giving their little $200 to. And those statistics don't even represent how much money people might have spent to make that $200. Because for every little can of Herbalife powder that the people sell, they make $10 off of it. But it costs them like $30, like $30-some, and then they're supposed to sell it for $40-some and keep the difference.
So I kind of want to talk about those people at the top. because as like we've been thirsting to talk about MLMs and scammers for a while, and so I actually let Twi know the topic beforehand. But so while she was looking into MLMs and kind of doing that, I was looking into cults because there's a lot
of my jams. I could talk about MLMs and cults because MLMs are kind of
they're so similar.
Financial cults.
Well, they have a very similar breakdown of what they do to you. They indoctrinate you in the same way. They both give you a hope for a better lifestyle, for financial or emotional freedom.
Remember you were talking about how I had a friend, and through a couple conversations, I realized that she was
going down the hole,
considering joining an MLM. And like, I called Rose and I was like, girl, I'm worried about my friend.
And mind you, I thought the bitch was started doing heroin. And I was like, oh my God, what?
She's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I was like, she's thinking about joining the MLM. Like, I was worried. And I currently have a friend who's in the MLM, and I'm worried about her. I was worried.
But that's the thing too. Like, she also knows what's going on behind the scenes, and like that's the thing. There's a lot of people who aren't willing to look at their life and are just looking for whatever quick hope they can grab onto. And I feel like especially during COVID, when people had all those distractions, and all of a sudden everyone is home and they're like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and it's like, and some of you are, and that's not what we're saying, but you're not gonna get there with Herbalife. If you're not gonna get there with being the people who are selling travel agents during COVID, y'all deserve a special place in hell because no one's even really trying to travel.
Because who even uses
a travel
agent? Like,
it's
2022. Okay? Like,
Booking.com, Travelocity. Are you serious? Skip lag. I like skip lag preferably, but
all of these MLMs try to force a middleman situation where there doesn't need to be one anymore. Like, the last of the people who would even consider it, the baby boomers, even they are online. Everybody is terminally online, so don't nobody need to go talk to you about getting a discounted trip so you can make 10% of what the difference is. Like, and then when you really start talking to people about what they get, it's nothing. They get nothing. They have to do all this work, go to all these meetings, and try to stalk their friends and family and begging people to be part of it to make a little raggedy ass couple $20 or some bullshit.
It's a carrot on a stick because the people behind the scenes, they're the one with the real power. They're the one raking in the big money. And so while I started looking into some cult stuff, I found one that was a combination of all my favorite things of scammers and scams. It's in Albany. It is a cult.
I know what she
It was an MLM. And I was like, oh my God, it's the Holy Trinity for this episode. So it's the NXIVM. So
she burst into my room like, did you hear? I was like, girl, years ago.
I remember the news coverage of it. The news coverage of it wasn't like it was a cult. Not the way it was presented.
The news glossed over
it really
and
did.
I went to go find more information. I'm a podcast girl. So I immediately was like, the fuck? No. I'm
anti-news. I heard it was white girls being sex trafficked. I was like, whatever. And I went on about my life. Like,
I heard, she was like, did you know people was getting, I was like, yes. Girl, I'm here for, like, weird shit like that. That's how I spend my Sundays.
But here's the scary part. It was all different socioeconomic backgrounds. It was still all white people. There were some black people.
But it was mostly white people, like, and it was weirdly like,
it was a random
they would get you into these like seminars, like, and I'm good. And they would have you go into like back to back, like hours of classes and programs and doing, and people saying all these things to you. And like, I was watching this movie, and like people can get into this like trance when they're in those, like, it's almost like church.
Y'all ever been to like a timeshare thing where you get trapped in one of those? Like, I don't remember what situation, but I've definitely been in a situation where someone was like awkwardly, all of a sudden it went from being a normal situation to like you're in a room being sold a story and you're like, oh my God, how did I get here?
It's the worst to suddenly be in a room being sold a story, especially when you know you're not the target. Like, they know who they're looking for, and they're gonna try to turn everybody, but they know they're not gonna turn everybody, and you one of the people, because you're just gonna be like, when can I get out? Like, how can I, exit? But while you're making your exit, you're hearing all this nonsense, and you're seeing people
eat it
up attention, and it's troubling. It's very troubling.
So the thing with the next scam, like, this was what got me, because the same way they do a lot of these, like, they take you to a hotel lobby or a fucking hall or whatever, and they line you up and they feed you, or they, like, maybe they make you feel good. There's music usually. There's some, like,
love bombing.
Yeah.
They love bombing. They tell you how great you are or whatever.
All your potential. They tell you all the things your parents never did. I'm sorry. We love you. Go to a therapist. But, like, the same thing happens in these cult environments. And the people who are at the top, the people who make the money, the people who, and there's always one, usually a white dude, at the top making a lot of fucking money off of whatever it is. Google it. You can always follow
making a lot of money and also engaging in a lot of deviant sexual behavior and assault type things, because they was
community head ass niggas are every
because they
surface.
They were in Clifton, and I remember this so much because I was like, my gynecologist is. I'm getting my pap smear, and bitches is getting branded and, like, having to have weird sex with this man.
And you know what? So the thing about it was the woman who got branded, who kind of, like, brought it to the forefront and, like, was like, oh shit, like, she came out. She was brave enough to say, I got played. And there's not a lot of people aren't. But what happened was, all the women who were getting branded were told that all the lines meant different things. But when she but when she looked at it from a certain angle, also when she happened to be getting branded, because the dude wanted video of it, she was holding the phone and a text, the main chick's phone, and the text message from the leader of the thing came through, like, that said basically, how are they holding up? And until that point, she didn't realize that he had anything to do with this. She thought it was an all-woman thing. And when that happened, and then when she looked at the branding, she realized it was this dude's initials. This dude has her, for life, she has this dude's initials on her. And she was like, she was married. She had to tell her husband. Her husband wanted to kill, like, because for life, it's not a tattoo.
No. It's when somebody, like, into your skin. But yeah, that part was crazy because, like,
it's a narcissist world when
people be so ready to have a thing. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, and that's what these cults and MLMs are. They're selling you a dream of what your life could be if you just follow these rules, if you just do these things. And it's never anything that makes sense, but people will disregard their red flags and their red alerts because they want to be distracted. They want to be loved. They want to be in something. These MLMs, they're very insular. It's very group mindset. And when it turns out that your friends and family are not amiable, to, like, they're like, I'm all set, then they tell you your friends and family are against you, and that, you know what I mean, a lot of these places will get dirt against you. That's what this one dude, they had naked pictures, and they were like, I'll put them on the internet. And these cults, they do the same exact thing. Like, they'll take, once they do something and they get you to a certain level, then they know that they have you. And then you're scared, and so you do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, which is usually worse and worse. That's how NXIVM was getting people. So they would get them to come to, like, I think, like, these 3 days. Like, it was like some kind of, like, oh, we're gonna go do, like, a retreat or whatever the fuck. And then they would get people. They wouldn't feed them quite enough to kind of get the stamina for everything that they were going to endure mentally and physically throughout the weekend. They would keep them busy. So you never really have time to stop and consider what's going on around you, and maybe, like, really reflect on the things that were said to you, because they're moving you on to the next thing, and they're keeping you tired as well. So people can say all they want, because people be acting like sleep is not necessary, but, like, being sleep deprived is like it's almost as good as being drunk. So now, obviously, you're not going to be in your right frame of mind. Like, you're not going to be making your best decisions at your tippy top shape because they got you just out here doing all this shit and busy work. And now it making you feel good on top of it. You're tired, you're being love bombed, you're being, you know what I mean? And then people are just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And they keep feeding into it.
And I'm always leery of anything that doesn't really want to give you time to think. That's always a thing. Like, anything that is like, no, you got to make that decision right now. I'm like, well, hold the fuck up. Like, because attorneys make millions of dollars because they have to read through things, and they know people that takes time. And anytime they don't want you to see anything or don't want you to read through all the things, I'm always like, well, yeah. I know that you don't have my best interest at heart.
Especially when you start talking about money.
Who else outside your family or anyone you love just has your best interest at heart and just wants you to have a better life for just $1.99?
And even so, for some people, unfortunately, even the people in your family, you can't even say that. So, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, most people are self-centered and they're going to put their self first and make sure that they're good. And when you're in these environments, like the next scene was crazy. Like, this man having a sex cult. Like,
and there's so many of them. I watched the one with was it Tribe 12 or what, the 12 Tribe or whatever, and oh my gosh, like, the girls who were born into it at like 7 and 8, like, and it was just and it was just some old white dude who wanted to sleep with a bunch of women at the end of the day, and that's what this other dude was doing. This is what the next dude was doing. He was sleeping with a bunch of women.
And I don't know. And my thing is, I'm always just like, what are you, some kind of extremist? Like, why? Because you want to fuck a bunch of people, does it have to be all of this? Like, it's just like white man's divorce. I'm just like, can't you ever just leave it?
No, it's gotta go.
Why do you have to destroy it?
But, and these things do go together because it really comes back to mindset. Like, and that's what we want to, like, get into, because it's that group thinking that happens out of desperation. And I feel like 2020 was the perfect microcosm of COVID and people being desperate. And these fucking scammers were out here really
lonely.
pressuring people.
I think I've never really been lonely. Like, I'm a loner. And I like my time to myself, but I've never really been lonely. My family, I've always, I lived at home until I was 26. And when I moved out, I had my own space, but, I could usually reasonably walk to most people's houses that I wanted to go see. So, I was able to, like, being down here was like my first time really feeling like lonely, isolated and forlorn about it and desperate about it and not really knowing how to remedy the situation, because I didn't know anybody and I still don't really know anybody. So it's like with COVID and people
they're not being
forced into their own homes, and not everybody, like some people, have family and things like that. Like even with Rose, I was like, you have your son at home with you. At least you got a other body in the house. Like it may not be, you know what I mean? You're not
a willing body at all.
You might not want to be trapped in the house with your parent for 6 months, but at least you're not trapped somewhere by yourself for 6 months. And people like, I think that there's not been enough attention paid to how the mental health of the population, like the global population, is probably in a nosedive right now, because there are a lot of people who live alone. And there's also a lot of people who have moved and are like, life still goes on. We still are having to pay bills and do things. So everybody's still trying to figure out how to live life. So everybody is like, a lot of people are in a desperate situation, and like this is like prime fodder right now for these toxic fucking groups to get their claws into people, because everybody is looking for a way to connect. And the way these cults and the way these MLM groups get together, you do feel connected. If you were to if I was at that meeting and I was to allow myself to just get caught up in the emotionality of it all.
It would be an instant friend group.
Yeah.
It would be an
You hang out with these people, you always have to talk to them, you always have to be at a meeting or other, and then they go to the conferences. Like, my friend was going up, she was going to conferences out of town, and her life was falling apart at home. But she not supposed to talk about that part, but I'm like, that part is important. You talking about this is supposed to make my life better. I'm supposed to be making money while I'm doing this, but I can't pay my bills? Like, how? It doesn't really make sense.
You have to be already in a stable situation. If that's what you're going to do, you have to be already in a stable situation, and most of the people who are doing this, who are that desperate, are not. And that's the reality.
To go back to your point about the Nexium woman being able to admit that she had gotten played, like, that's another element of how both of these things function, because usually when and if somebody does exit, it's like they have to contend with a lot of like internal negative feelings, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. They feel like, because I said, like, they train you to try to get your friends and family on board with it, and some people are successful at it. So now they have to turn around and contend with the fact that they might have got their little sister involved with this weird, fucking business opportunity. And now that they've left, they're very shamefaced. And so they don't talk about it. And so because you don't hear about the failures. You don't never hear about that shit. You only hear about the diamond members and the people at the top.
There's the people who just keep buying their own shit and don't even talk about it and don't even sell it. They just buy it.
They just buying it to stay current, and they have no way to unload it. They don't know what to do with it. Nobody wants it. Like the crazy ass LuLaRoe people. Like,
oh, you talking about the saran wrap? We wrap it around your body?
No. LuLaRoe was the leggings.
I didn't miss that.
It was the leggings, and I guess at first it was supposed to be like these, like, the most nicest, softest, bomb ass leggings, and I think in the beginning they were actually nice quality, but then, like, the quality started to plummet, the print started to get horrible, and they were sending out people moldy packages and all type of weird stuff. So people, it was just horrible. And at first, they had like a buyback program. So like, if you didn't sell your stuff, you could sell it back. So the people but then they changed that program. They ended it. So people who were doing all that front loading of product and then couldn't unload it, then they couldn't even sell it back to the company. So then they just would be having like garages filled with leggings that they couldn't move.
But see, I don't feel like, come on. Like,
again, like, think about it. Who is going to continually go to you to buy this one specific clothing item instead of when they go shopping, just pick up leggings as they see? Like, it never fits in with human nature. Like, even if these was the most bombest leggings, if they were that bomb, they'd be in a store. Like, that's just... Ain't nobody trying to go to Susie down the street every time they need to get some fucking leggings. Like, nobody's doing it. And I just...
You're not going to become a millionaire. Like, everything... You can get everything off of Amazon. Like, you're not...
Right.
Like,
and it's sad to me
Jeff
that
Bezos he's got it. He's done it. He's won. He has top tier. Like, he's done... He's got us all by our fucking short hair.
He knows what the people them want. And the people them can say what they want to say, but they be making their orders and they be paying for Prime.
And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to the mindset, and that's what's so scary. It's like, we know things are desperate, and we know things like the price of everything is going up. It's 2022. We're dating ourselves right now because inflation is real. And like, I was just watching this thing on TikTok, and this woman was saying, like, yeah, no wonder the workers don't want to go back, because they figured out that you have to make $60,000 in like I think it was a 2 to 4 person household in order for it to be real. And that's an average of $25 an hour, where most jobs are only paying $10 an hour. So the American people have figured out that they're enslaved, is kind of what's happening. And so, you know how I'm always telling Twi, you can't tell people they're sucking dick? We're telling you, you're sucking dick. Because
it's really, these MLMs, they work for like 1% of people in most cases.
The way that
everybody else is making at best, like, I think some of them people be making like $24,000, but those people be working hard and diligent. It's not the passive, easy breezy life that be showing vacations and shit.
The economy works this way. It's only working for 1% of the population. If we're getting real, the way the economy is right now, it's only working for the top 1%. That's not you. I'm sorry, Marquita, it's not you. It's not.
It's really not. So you gotta get real.
And it's like it's scary because I always say that it's like the worker bees have taken over the hive. Like when everyone gets so desperate that you're willing to look at these things, and COVID showed us like that when you don't have distractions, people don't do well. Y'all did not do well. Y'all gained a lot of weight and started drinking a lot of alcohol. So, and you started selling Herbalife. And here's the thing, like, this was what was horrible. This is what I've seen. Everyone gained 65 pounds, and these motherfuckers came out the woodwork. And then, so 2021, I saw a surge in the Herbalife travel because they were like, oh, COVID's gonna be over. You can start selling travel. You can make all that money back you missed out on last year. They doubled down. Oh, everyone, you gained that weight from during COVID. Join this program now. We can help you. Yada, yada, yada.
Never mind about the psychology. Never mind about the fact that the majority of people that attempt weight loss are not going to achieve anything remarkable or sustainable, and that's not to be shady, that's just to be factual.
That is the way it is.
That's just how people are. Like, that's just how people are. And I've never been the type of person to be able to just like disregard my lived experiences, because I'm like, well, something's on my face, my hair. I was like, get off. But like, I can't disregard my lived experiences. Like, I saw what I saw. I saw how it failed. When did you see it work?
And when I say when did you see it work, like when did you really see it work? I want you to look at
when did you see it work? Not what video did you see where you saw some stranger. No. When did you see it work? And when you saw it work, did that person have another job? Did that person have a husband who had a job? Because that's almost always the situation. It's all the same way that we don't have Beyonce saying 24 hours because we ain't got a driver and we don't have someone to do our hair and tie our shoes and like. Y'all don't have Beyonce's 24 hours. Like, stop it. Gretchen told me one time that somebody was trying to get her parents to get joined in with Amway. And, as we told you, she was, upper middle class young lady. So her parents were well-to-do. And she was like that the people was like, oh, you'll tell people that the reason you have this nice house and 2 cars and good to travel a lot is because of this. And then people will buy into it. And they were like, and luckily they wasn't stupid and they were like, well, we're not gonna lie to our friends and family. We got this because we worked for it. Because they both had good jobs. So it's like, no, I'm not gonna say that. But most people are scammers. And we want y'all to be more aware of the fact that like most people are scammers. They were talking about the cult thing. They talked about the like cognitive dissonance where you like distance yourself, like you're more committed to your belief than you are to learning a new anything. Like, and that's the thing where they get you, because once you're in, you either have to admit you're sucking dick or you suck dick, or you have to double down. And anytime anything fails, it's, oh, it wasn't supposed to be like that. It's because you didn't do the formula right. It's because you didn't trust the process. Gotta trust the process. Like,
No, people, like,
and the process don't be going nowhere sometimes. Like,
you need to open your eyes and look around at like who's being really successful, who's really getting the payoff. Like that woman who has that man's initials branded on her for the rest of her life, and other bitches are out there. But none of them have come to the forefront.
Right, but she wasn't by herself getting branded. Like,
there's a bunch of women with this nigga's initials on their crotch for the rest of their lives. It was
some kind of like religious. He told them some lie
that every line,
and it was like his initials, but like tilted sideways.
It wasn't even good.
He didn't even try to hide it good. Like these bitches wanted to believe it so bad, they ignored their vision. They were like, I didn't see what I saw. Nope. He said it was a symbol. You saw it was that nigga's initials.
They had him convinced that every line meant a certain thing and it was just and it's like you be so blinded
sideways.
The one chick in the cult, she hadn't talked to her sister in 12 years.
I should tell you about this fucking movie series I was watching last night.
Mm-hmm.
So this nigga Robert Freegard, he's a con man.
And these are all on the same level. Con man, scammers, Herbalife, MLMs.
Same. So, this Julio was telling people that he was a spy. First of all, spies don't tell you that they're spies.
Not never.
Get a fucking clue.
It's literally like Real Woman. It's like Fight Club. Like, I don't understand why y'all be buying that shit.
If somebody tells you they're a spy, they're not a spy. They're not a spy. Anyway, he convinced these 3 people that they needed to be on the run.
Oh, that's based on a true story.
I know.
I watched it because you know I'm a true crimes nut. So I'm like, oh no, I've studied this, and yeah, he had them convinced.
He had this woman
living all around out of college. She dropped out of college. She was like calling her parents
and he milking her parents for money and just having her living in shanties and shit. A safe house here, a safe house there.
Yeah.
10 years he had her in a chokehold, running her ragged.
And he had other women. And the thing about it was, he had other people around the country.
He was doing it to mad people.
He had other people around the country holed up in these little fucking abandoned houses,
milking their families for money
while he's living the high life on jet skis and shit. Like, there's always some narcissist that's willing to take advantage. The same way that
it was a mess.
When we were talking about in the pedophile episode that, like, you know, I work with children because, you know, I was taken advantage of as a child, and like there's always the antithesis out there of these predators on these children. These are predators on life. These are your financial there are predators on your financial freedom, on your, like, they're preying on your desperation for hope.
Like, they caught this man and had him jailed and everything, like, guilty. Lock him up. He's out of control. And then they overturned it and let him out, and he was doing it, like, he went back at it. So I was just like, wow, what it must be like to be a white man.
No, that dude, the dude who was in charge of whatever cult, Jeffrey, whatever, the Mormons that was always just raping kids, and he finally got put in prison. And now, mind you, he had told them that he was God, and they believed he was God. And there are still people.
And that's the part, like, how do you save somebody who is 10 toes in believing some mediocre white man is God? Like, people who are around these people, like, they had, old girl's father was badass. He was like, no, see, because I started, he had a mat, like, he had a mat with the yarn, like, I'm gonna keep paying her credit card bill even though she's spending too much money.
I'm sorry, that gave me abandonment issues for a minute, because this was the dad, because he tracked down his daughter and he never gave up hope. He was like tracking her phone calls.
Because like they wanted, he was Robert Freegard and whatever, David Henney, that nigga, say his name because he's a scammer and they keep letting him just scam and harm people. But he was like, she had an inheritance or something like 200 pounds coming to her, and he was like, he had found out about it, so he had started making her call to ask for it. Then they was like, no, bitch, no, we're not giving you the money because we know you with this. Like, her dad was like, because I know you with this fool and I don't know what's all going on, but I ain't buying it, so you ain't getting this money. So they both had told her no, the parents. But then they just started like, basically like psychological warfare. They were just calling the house back to back, calling the house all hours of the night, calling the house. They called the house so much to the point where the mother was just like, yo, whatever, just give it to her because I can't deal with this. Like, at this point, she hadn't seen her daughter in like 5 or 6 years or something like that. But then she would just call and ask for money. And so they gave the inheritance, and at the time that they had was like, I don't think that you should call here again. So then she was all broke up because she still being poor girl. Like, it was a mess.
No, you see when she had to get her like passport to get some money out of the bank.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not giving her this passport.
Yo, he hid the passport in the safe.
They had it there because she tried to come and rob the safe and all this, and he was all like, but I knew she was gonna do that. So we had another safe.
Yeah, when I see
in the floor, and she didn't even know about it. And I was just like, what it must be like to have a dad that has a mind, because he was just like, some ain't right, and he really like. I mean, can you imagine, I'm not even a parent, but can you imagine like over the course of 10 years, like your daughter comes to your house one day in the middle of the night with some friends from college with this weird story that they're gonna, first it started off like, we're just going on a trip because somebody was dying of liver cancer.
That's what happens when they get you in that room, because that's what it was. At the time, the girl did genuinely 100% just thought she was going
Yeah, she was like,
they didn't let it
my friend is dying of liver cancer and it's his last dying wish. But this is how the dad was a dad. Because the dad was like, I didn't really buy the story when they came because, you know, generally when people are that sick that they only have a couple more weeks left to live, you know, it shows on him. And he was saying something about the animals, and you could tell the sick one because it's, you know, it's not moving properly. Yeah. And he was like, but dude look fine to me. So he's like, so I asked him, well, how sick are you? Because he was basically like, I just said it plainly, like, you don't look sick. So he didn't buy their story from day one. He never even bought the story about going on the trip because this nigga was dying.
This was a young person. Now, I will say this because I worry about my kids, like, because they're in that age. My kids are baby humans. Like, I call them, like, my son's 20, my daughter's 23. My teenager is still a dumb teenager, you know, whatever. But
I don't think, out of all three of her kids, I feel like her youngest son is the least likely to get scammed or into a cult. Like, her oldest, I don't know.
Maybe
she's made some questionable choices, but
I think for the most part, my kids are free thinkers. And I did foster in that. And
I think for the most part they wouldn't do it because I don't think they're people. I don't like. I feel like her eldest would be like, I'm not even trying to group up with anybody like that in the first place.
I tried to get my kids to join stuff when they were younger because I didn't have an opportunity to join things. I always wanted my kids to do. And again, this comes back to group mentality. You can't force it on people.
I always say to Rose, I was like, but didn't when you started to join groups, it was corny?
Yeah, like that didn't happen for me until I was 30.
Like, she had to learn it later on in life. Like, I learned it early on because every time I tried to join a group, it was trash. Because I'm not a groupie. Like, I can't be in a group of people.
I always thought, because I didn't have friends growing up in school because I was the only black kid, so that was like a thing. So I was like, well, they just don't know how dazzling I am. Like, so, like, and then I went to high school. So much faith in people, and like, she was telling me about it, and I was like, no, people are corny. You didn't miss anything. No, and I did, and like that was the thing. Like, when I started hanging out with that toxic guy friend, I tell him all the time. I would be like, oh my god, it's like you tell me every day Santa Claus isn't real, because I had such rose-colored glasses on the world because of just, you know, trying to deal with trauma, trying not to see the world as it really is. And I feel like because I understand where you people are coming from, the desperation to see the world as a better place, and that you're just one step away from greatness. You're not. Nobody's one step away from greatness. The greatest people, it took them a long time to get there. There were lots of steps. There was lots of work. There was lots of like learning and failures and things that happened. They didn't just fall into greatness. You're not going to fall into Herbalife greatness. Stop it.
Unless you were on the right side of the slave trade in America and you got old money, like, I wasn't born into money. Like, sometimes, like, I'm getting ready. I'm starting another job. I feel like I've been so ridiculous since like Nifty ruined me, and I just
meanwhile unemployed. My have tables.
She is not.
I don't know what's going on.
She's working background work every minute of her life. But anyway,
yeah.
I had a job, and like they started fucking being on my meat every second, and I was just like,
dumb shit.
I don't like it. And I had already accepted a job at a new place. And I'm actually, for like once in my adult life, I feel like gonna actually be making the kind of money that will allow me to like pay my bills and save some money and have fun with a little bit of money without any guilt. Cause usually it was like one or the other. Like we can't, like, I was in upstate New York living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not gonna lie, like how people be trying to front like no. People was living down the street from me trying to act like, I'm like, if you weren't living paycheck to paycheck, you would not be living in a place where people keep getting murdered on a stoop.
Yeah, and people would like pick and choose how they were gonna like spend or pretend to have their money, because they might have a nice car but be living in the hood, or they may have a really nice apartment that's in the ghetto or whatever because they could like, but they wouldn't come to it, and like those.
But I would say that but I would be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, like this is ghetto, but this is what I could afford and it's nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, they're dropping bodies on the step, but I got concrete walls, so these bullets is not really, you know, it's not my problem.
I would always, and that's the thing with me. I would always look, when people would approach me, I always looked at how the scammer or the person approaching me was doing in real life, like in real time, like how they were. And a lot of these people were doing worse than off than I was. And I was like, well, if you're doing worse than me, just working a regular job, and I ain't gotta be trying to sell powder or sell fucking booking.com or try like
whatever.
Or like, toilet paper, like vitamins.
I go to work, I work my 7.5, and then the rest is up to me what I do with my time. Like I'm not out here, and then like people are not gonna start buying things from you.
Like
it's not realistic.
Here's the thing, even with our podcast, like we're realistic about the fact that we're not for everybody. We're not gonna blow up overnight. Like we're dope. Y'all should definitely watch us. We're steady going up. 37.
Thank you. Every
time we go back and watch it, like we're up from when we last had it. So
that's good.
And we're not buying our likes. We're not buying our promotions. It's legitimate people who are finding our content and watching it. And I will take more pride in that, in being an individual, because that's when you're authentic. That's how you make money. Like and when you're your authentic self, no matter what your talent is or whatever, you always, that, you know, it's the Dave Chappelle's, it's the Missy Elliott's, it's the Joan Rivers, it's the all those people that are genuinely themselves,
want to daring enough to just do what they do. Like I think that even though like I've been having a hard time watching this season, y'all. Like I can't even proof the episodes really, because I just you want to talk about a sad girl? I was sad.
It was palpable. She's doing a lot better. I'm not.
I've been slowly trying to like call myself out, and like there's still things like I'm still lonesome down here a lot, but
I think it's just it's part of the journey. I really feel like that it's a transition for both of us, just to kind of like figure out I feel like we're both trying to figure out our place in this world and in this place. And like,
well, for a long time I was just like, I don't know, this isn't work, because I was just like, am I not gonna, like, I felt like I wanted to get started down here and I was not being allowed to start, because I was like, I need something stable so that I can feel like I can really plant myself here. I was like, I feel like I'm just like floating like a ghost in, like, I was like, I feel like a ghost in Georgia. I'm like, but you know, I'm about to start this new job and the pay is really like, it's the most I've ever made in my adult life. And I'm like, I'm also in a position where I do have a roommate and somebody to share the bills with. So I'm like,
oh yeah, we just got another roommate by the way. We got somebody living in the basement, but
that sounds weird. Do we want to?
No, we don't have to get all into it, but like, I feel like we have figured out that we are not going to make our millions or make our money in any quick fashion. And so we figured out other ways to be resourceful to maximize what we do have.
Health insurance. Like
that's
so amazing.
Twi's gonna have health insurance. We're gonna have some money to be able to like save a little bit and do some traveling because we haven't had a chance to really relax, or because I like Twi's like, it was like living with the Sims character. I really was the Sims character. Like I was just
she was so offended and I was like I'm sorry. Like it just,
but I'm like, I worked the first 7 months here are like a blur of like working and then occasionally doing this podcast and then going to sleep. Like it's literally a blur. And like I feel like I'm very proud of us because we've both been desperate in our own ways, but like not desperate enough to like turn to some false hope or to just Twi didn't start all of a sudden start going to all the 8 million churches down here.
Oh my God, there's a church everywhere.
There's a church, like here's my issue with, there's as many churches, there's 10 homeless person to every church down here. So I feel like if they were doing what they were talking about, there wouldn't be the hypocrisy in a lot of these organizations. And you know what, when I was watching the thing on the cults, they dragged Jehovah's Witnesses, and I know y'all don't want to touch on that, but like they need to. And my mama was a Jehovah's Witness for a while. Like my mom was the queen of, this is the reason I'm obsessed with it, because I had a white mom. So listen, listen, Linda, listen.
Yo, my mom, like, the Jehovah's Witness people are so insidious. Like, they just pop up at your house. And my mom is the type of person where she's very, like, personable. She likes to talk to new people. She's interested in strangers. Like, whereas me, like, speaking of the roommate, like, she rang the bell and I didn't know, like, I thought I had given her key, so I wasn't expecting anybody to ring the bell. And I was like, I think I was talking to you, and I text Rose, like, someone's at the door. And I text the girl, and I was like, are you at the door? Because if she didn't, and she called me, I was like, if she had better say something, because I wasn't going to open the door. Because I don't open the door for unexpected guests. Like, that's how you get murdered. But, like, my mom don't think like that. So she opened the door for these Jehovah's Witness people, and next thing I know, like, they're always visiting her. And they just, that's what they do. They come over and they visit, and first it's to talk about you. And when you're someone lonely, and then they just be like, let me just leave this literature with you. Yeah. I go over to my mom's house and all these awake pamphlets, and I was like, but
some of these people be so desperate for company, and they be so lonely, and their families be unreal, that they come in and these people are nice to them, and it all comes, it's all very, even if it's nice, it's still very predatory, because you're really playing on the weak of people, and like the weakness of people. So I'm not for it. I'm not for group thinking. I'm for questioning everything. Question us. Like, look up some more things. If you feel like you have it, like,
don't be the people who get angry at the person in the group who has questions, because that person who's going to ask questions is going to get information to come forth that's going to benefit us all. Because I usually am the one that has questions, and most people don't like it. But it's like, if you ask more questions, you will find yourself in less compromising positions.
Speaking of scammers, because when I worked at this radio station, there was a board president who was king scammers, and so he brought me and some other members from the board to meet this other supposed investor. And they were gonna do a music festival. And this guy brings us out to like some, you know, big like whole ranch, like acres and acres. It was beautiful country, big house in the middle. But like we pull up and like there's a limo in the driveway, but like it's clearly like old and been sitting there for a while. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So the dude brings us in for the meeting to talk about this investment, and he's doing that thing, that fast talking. This is what I've done. This is look at these. Yada. We did this concert. We had this many people. We had this many vendors. He's doing that fast. He's doing the pitch, right? And so I'm looking at the material, and I noticed that all the material said was not before 2010. Now at this time it's like 2015. So I'm like, well, that's a 5-year gap for you of not to have done anything because the things that you're saying is fine, you know. So I'm like, yeah, no. So I was like, this is cool. I was like, but how come you haven't done it in 5 years? And the guy turns to me and he's like, it's not time for your questions.
Every time you say that, I'm always like,
and I was and now mind you, I was with a bunch of dudes. I was the only woman in the group, as I tend to be sometimes in these scenarios. And I'm the only bitch with questions because these dumbass niggas just sitting there getting pitched, just living the dream of this like island Caribbean fucking music festival happening in the woods and mind you, we're so far in the woods. It took like 45 minutes for us to get there. So I'm instantly in my head going, well, this is a cool idea, but what's the transportation looking like? How are you going to transport all these people from the city? Who's going to come all the way up here, drive 45 minutes is there places to stay? Normal questions, and I'm getting shot fucking death looks, okay? To the point that now mind you, no one's having my back, even though I'm asking you. I was with a lawyer. And
that's usually how it goes. Like, usually you'll ask questions and people won't have your back. They'll be mad.
And I wound up doing research on this dude, and this dude had just went down for tax fraud in 2012. And the reason that the thing was successful was because his parents were working it, but his dad died in 2010. He was the real genius. He was, you know how the island people come over and the parents be working hella hard and build a business, and then that first generation kid be slow as fuck and just be like, he was one of them. He was a trash ass, for fucking waste of time. But the president of the board at the time looked at me and was like, I don't know why you're being so difficult. Now, luckily for me, I have years of building up a tougher skin at this point in my life. But I understand the mindset of people who want to just go along with things, to not be that person. But at the end of the day, wrong is wrong. And that president, by the way, went to prison for moving fucking drugs and fucking guns into Canada during the pandemic.
Who does that? Yo.
But
it was so funny because the way that she cannot stand this dude is like,
he can't stand me either. 100%
like,
he can't stand me. He won't even talk to me.
Like, she said how I check out of people. Like, I literally be like, and I'm done with that. Like, you just like you don't exist is very strong. So after I decided he's not real, because he fell off my radar. I didn't know what he was doing. As far as I knew, Rose, he was the only nigga that worked at the radio station. I was like, I don't know. I was like, people, because I don't never be. People was asking me. I was like, I don't know. Rose works at the radio station or something. I didn't know what she did. I was like, I don't know, man. She does what she does.
Like, and that was the thing. Like, and that was the thing too. Like, I had worked really hard on putting this event together, and I had never seen him before. I didn't even know he was the president of the board, and like I literally met him the day like this event, and then he like came out and like wanted to give a speech at my event, and I was like, who the fuck is this? Like, but anyway, again, in a room full of other people. Now, once I got two of the people in the car with me, it was like, well, that was ridiculous. And I was like, okay, thank you. Now,
but however, I support you in the back, and it's like, I need you to say that it's ridiculous while I'm asking questions. Because now I'm back here by myself looking crazy because these people are mad because I'm asking questions.
And this does go back to the cult thing, because like one of the one of the cults where they're talking, there was a girl that they used as an example. The main creep's granddaughter refused to have sex with him. Like this chick, Mary, she refused, and like they sent her away. She got electric shock therapy, and she still was like, she was. If you ask me, she was really badass, and she wound up like kind of bringing the organization down later. But she was like, I don't care, I'm not fucking my grandfather. Like, she was like,
and big fat.
But like at 12, and like I think, especially for me as someone who like had lived through,
but everybody's not.
You're not in a mental space to be like that.
Everybody's not cut out like that, and they shouldn't have to be.
Especially when you're young, and that's why they do target the young, and they will do that kind of thing. But like that kind of mindset usually takes having some experiences to get to
think about being like a young person being put in a compromising position by your family. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times children will be enduring things and they'll know it's wrong,
but there's nobody else.
Because their family is the one that is doing it, they may question themselves. They may be like, well, this doesn't feel right, but you know, if my mom, you know, or my grandfather is like saying I should do it, I guess I should do it. And I know that that's the thing in a lot of like black households. Like, you're just trained. Like, sometimes Rose will be like, well, didn't you ask, or didn't, like, I was like, no, because I was really trained not to question my adults. Like, I couldn't really, like, I told you, I was like, sometimes mom would be like, come on, and like, go get in the car, and I'd be like, where are we going? She's like, you don't ask me questions. So like,
see, and I had kind of that, but not really, because my mom would put us in questionable scenarios, and because of how I was like super protective of not me as much as my brothers, I always questioned things, and when things didn't fit, I knew that I had to make a fit for things to be safe sometimes. So, but I had to get to that place. That's why I thought it was so badass for this girl at 12, or, you know, I think it started at like 10, for her to be like, she was like, absolutely not. And for me, like, I was molested at 10. I knew it was wrong, and I told that day. It wasn't like, I was like, nah, that's not finna go down. But I still had to go through it, or at least at that moment I froze. The fact that this girl was consistently like, I'm not fucking my grandfather, and I'm just like, yo, you have to, that's rare. That's the exemption that we're always talking about.
And that's what I mean by like, most people are average. Most children are average. And most children, even if they know it's wrong, especially if it's a family member, a loved one, somebody that they previously trusted, putting them in the compromising position, they will question their initial feeling of like, well, how compromising is it? Because if it was that compromising, would this be, you know what I mean? And sometimes, because, you know, there's a lot of conflict that is going on internally. So everybody's not cut out to just be like, I'm going to stand up for myself. And I have a problem with the people who woulda, coulda, shoulda, like, well, if it was me. And I'm like, you don't know what you would do if it was you.
You don't.
Until you're in the situation. You really don't know what you would do if it was you. Like,
so if you're being scammed, and if you're selling Herbalife right now, just put it in your closet.
Definitely not trying to shade you, but definitely just trying to like school you. Like,
put it in you, because I would rather see a person like, if that's, because I've seen so many like single moms like believing in this, I would prefer you as a single mom, take it and go get your hair done, or go get your nails done, or go, you know, just go to dinner or something. And that will be better for your mental health and better for you as being a parent than you trying to fill this false narrative of you being an entrepreneur. Because that in real time will make your life better. And maybe will give you hope, or give you time to think, or give you time to have a perspective. Just, I don't want this episode to go too long because it's really good and I want y'all to watch it. But like, that's our point. Like, it's not, we're not coming at you. And the people who have fallen for it, and we've all been a part of, like, to some degree, like, if y'all spoke up more, maybe they wouldn't get away with it as much.
Because
it wasn't until this chick came out and was like, this nigga's got his name on my crotch, his initials on my crotch, and other people was like, oh, this is maybe wild too. but she had to see it. She had to actually
That usually does have to be a first one that's willing to be like, this ain't right. Like, I always, for some reason, I always remember Sandusky and him molesting those boys.
Yeah.
For mad long, he got away with it because
they were winning championships.
Because he was doing a good job, but also because a lot of people who molest boys take advantage of the fact that boys they're not really socialized. First of all, if it's a woman, they're not socialized to really, again, believe that it's wrong. Even if they feel like it's wrong, people don't respond appropriately. And then if it's a male that is assaulting them, they're socialized to internalize that as that, an attack on their masculinity. So they're more likely to keep it inside and not talk about it instead of mention it. And it took somebody that was willing to be like, nah, fuck all that, I ain't gay, like, this nigga's a pedophile, before more people were like, me too. It usually takes one, but most people, that's what I'm saying, like, most people is gonna go along to get along. And that's what these MLMs and that's what these cults, they prey on those average people. I think that is a narrative that I always, like, try to drill down. Like, most people are average. When you're looking at outliers and you're looking at amazing people, and even when you're looking at people who are at the bottom, like, most of the niggas is in the middle. And they're gonna go along to get along. And they are gonna want to be sold a false dream of, I can work part-time and make millionaire income. Because that's what those MLMs be selling you. And it's a lie.
Stay out my inbox with Bitcoin. I'm not gonna do Herbalife. I'm not gonna use your travel. Like, no, I'm not gonna buy toilet paper or like perfume from you. Like, I'm finna go to the store, and so is everybody else if you're real about it. So we're gonna wrap it up because I feel like I don't want to go too long because I think this is almost an hour and a half. So
oh wow,
yeah, because we were into it. So I want to wrap it up and maybe we'll do some editing magic and whatnot. But scammers, this is for y'all.
Leave these people alone.
Stop it.
Because they don't be seeing y'all coming.
Stop it.
Most cases.
I'm just
right.
Stop it out. All right. Next time.